Hi again, welcome to Pearl Magazine. Annual bonuses have been handed out, and that means a lot of workers may be trying to trade up to their next job. But for those over the age of 50, it could be slim pickings. Later in the show, the job opportunities and challenges waiting for Hong Kong's more seasoned workers. First up, it's time for a trip on Hong Kong's own time machine. For more than a century, our iconic trams have clattered up and down Hong Kong Island. Our updated ding-dings are as popular as ever, but years ago, traveling by tram was a more intrepid task. Tonight, Pearl Magazine's Tina Jiang reveals tales of old from our retro rides.
Not far from the Eastern Street tram stop. 85-year-old seamster Li Ping Kong is busy working at his tiny store, tucked away in a small lane. 5 days a week, he takes the tram to work.
My schooling began when I was 10. That was also the time I started taking the tram regularly. It's been 60 to 70 years.
In the 1940s, Li was a primary school student in Kennedy Town.
I walked to school in the morning, but if I also walked home, there wouldn't be enough time for lunch because I only had a 1-hour break. So I took the tram, or ding-ding, to go home, and then go back to school.
For 70 years, Li helped people to fix their worn clothes, whether it's a hole, a zip, or a button. No job is too big or too small. Li likes things in the traditional way. He still operates a vintage Singer sewing machine. His magnifying glasses and scissors are all originals.
My dad opened this shop. I took it over at the age of 16. He passed away in that year because of an accident. I was very young and had no better choices but to follow in his footsteps.
Li lives 4 tram stops away from his shop on Whitty Street. Every day at 6 p.m. he closes the shop and takes the tram home.
There was a ticket seller on the tram back then. I gave him the money and he would punch a hole on my ticket. But you can't see that now. It used to have sliding shutters, open the door like this, but that also disappeared. Many things have changed already.
Li recalls that in the old days, a tram ticket was 10 cents for the lower deck, 20 cents for the upper deck.
It was highly privileged to sit upstairs, so it costs more money. Imagine that you were wearing a suit or coming to a banquet. Of course, you would choose to sit on the upper deck. The lower deck costs less, but it's different. You saw different people there.
Li never had a chance to sit on the upper deck in the old days. Class distinction was abolished in 1972. Now it costs the same, but he still prefers sitting downstairs.
Many people like to sit on the upper deck, but I don't mind as long as there is a seat.
Due to the city's continuous growth, demand for a comprehensive transport system began in the 1880s. With Hong Kong a British colony at the time, the company behind the tramway was established in England. Meanwhile, the development of transportation was already underway before the first tram rail was laid down.
These horse-drawn carriages, probably a few motor vehicles from time to time at the early stage. But I would say that in 1901, when this decision was made to develop a tram in Hong Kong, it took only 3 years to effectively start the operation. It's super fast.
The operation of Hong Kong's tram officially started in 1904. At that time, there were several trams worldwide already.
It was a kind of technology that was duplicated from UK to Hong Kong. The trams were built in the UK and then shipped to Hong Kong. And here they built the track and the power supply system.
By the 1950s, many cities in the world replaced their tram networks with cars and buses before regretting it later and reinstalling them.
Not a lot of city has so heritage or cultural transport system. You can find in Portugal, in San Francisco, a few ones in Australia. There are some modern trams in UK, but in terms of heritage tram, there is a few ones in Blackpool or in London Transport Museum. But as a pure regular operation, Hong Kong Tram is now quite unique.
Today, Hong Kong Tramways operates a fleet of 164 tram cars, making it the world's largest double-deck tram fleet still in operation. The tram carries some 200,000 passengers a day on a total of 30 kilometers of track. Having been in operation for more than a century, the trams of Hong Kong have become something more than simple and inexpensive public transport.
When you have been taking the tram for a long time, naturally you got to know other passengers and say hi sometimes. Many passengers are the elderly. The tram moves slowly and also allows them to take their time to get on board. Quite nice.
Lee also got to know more about the job as a tram motorman over the years.
They were driving all day long, and they had very little time to grab a lunchbox. They had to have a bite to eat while the trams stopped at red lights. Then they put it down and continued operating the tram. When they finally finished lunch, we'd have passed many stops. It was a tough job indeed.
The Happy Valley terminus was one of the two canteens for the tram motormen, but there were no meal breaks back then.
When I joined the company, that didn't happen anymore, but I did hear from some old motormen that this was called a red light meal. Some would start eating from Shek Tong Chui and finish the meal when the tram arrived at North Point. I can't imagine it happened to me. It must be challenging, because except for going to the toilets, they spend all the time operating the tram.
Look has been working as a tram motorman for 15 years.
As a trainee, I could always turn to my trainer for help. But when I was on my own, I had to handle all the traffic problems and passenger issues myself. I was stressed, and it took me 1 or 2 weeks to get used to it.
Time flies. Look is now experienced enough to help train new hands.
Trainers from the old generation were very strict. I was scolded when I was a freshman. But I try not to be like that and be friends with the beginners.
Look is one of the few motormen who knows how to operate tram car number 120, which requires more techniques. It's distinguished by its green-colored interior, teak-lined windows, and rattan seats.
I worked the night shift before. Every day at the same time, I met the same passengers. It was interesting that we would say hi to each other. They knew clearly when the last tram would come.
Apart from commuters, the tram is popular with tourists as well.
Many tourists ask, is it possible for the tram to go to Kowloon? I think it's funny, so I would smile and answer that I hope so. But so far we haven't worked it out.
During the 1910s, Hong Kong Tramways proposed the Kowloon Tramways project. However, the completion of the Kowloon Canton Railway caused the government to veto the plan. Therefore, until now, trams are still a Hong Kong Island exclusive. Nowadays, the 120 tram stops are located 250 meters apart, making it easy to hop on and off. It can reach maximum speeds of 45 kilometers per hour, but on average it moves no more than 10 kilometers. An entire journey from Kennedy Town Depot to the Shao Kei Wan Depot is 13 kilometers and takes around 90 to 100 minutes. It's a leisurely ride and was designed that way.
If you ask to any Hong Kong people what they think about the tram, they just love it. It went with Hong Kong during the up and down of Hong Kong history. It was still there with the same pace, with the same shape, with the same humility, just doing what it's supposed to do, carrying people every day.
However, in 2015 and 2017, a retired town planner suggested abolishing the tram route between Admiralty and Central, claiming the cars caused traffic jams. But the government said no to the proposal after overwhelming public opposition.
In one tram car, you can have 70, 80 people. So if you consider 2 people per car, it means using one tram car, you save perhaps 40 vehicles on the road. So the more people are using public transport, of course, the less congestion there will be in Hong Kong.
Lee says if the tram lines were removed, it would take him longer to commute.
In fact, the tram did cause some congestion driving in the middle of the road. But it's also efficient and convenient for many. I would feel uncomfortable if the tram was scrapped one day, even though it was an old way of transport, but it exists for a reason. It seems quite laid back to still have it, but we may later regret losing it. Not an easy decision to make.
After the break, bonuses in, employees out. But what kinds of jobs are waiting for the more mature job hunters? Stay with us. Welcome back. It's that time of the year when annual work bonuses are paid out. For some employees, that's the cue to head for the exits and find new work. But for those of the age of 50 in Hong Kong, job prospects in an already tight job market are limited. Zella Chin finds out what kinds of job opportunities and challenges are facing a growing number of older job hunters.
At a holiday party in Wan Chai, 62-year-old Patricia Ko is catching up with her friends. She excitedly talks about her brand new job. Pat interns at a consumer goods company 5 days a week.
My main role is the person that is in the marketing department to support in doing surveys and also understanding the market needs for the 50 and above market.
Since Pat belongs to that market segment, she provides her employer with insights on her peers.
They will be living on their own, and then a lot of them is already retired from the job. I'm telling them what I like and what we don't like, and I'm telling them we're still watching TV, at least 2-3 hours a day, so that's a big difference to them, because the younger people maybe TV is no longer a main media, for them for the advertisement.
She's the company's first intern over 50. Her employer writes in an email, 10 years from now, golden ager consumers aged 50 plus in Hong Kong and many other Asian markets will account for 2/3 of all consumer expenditure. The golden ager hiring is a new workforce for us, which can bring in diversified insights and educating back our young marketers. Oral care products are popular for the over 50 market.
When I talk to them about it, they all think that, wow, it's something that we should have.
Pat works with colleagues almost 40 years younger. While Pat has been enjoying the internship, it's been a challenge to pick up digital skills.
Even though I do have a little bit of touch on the digital tools or devices like mobile phone or the website. But still, when you really have to do something and generate results, you really need to know the technique about it.
Pat wasn't always a marketing novice. Before this, she had a long career in the casino business in Macau.
10 years ago, I was being recruited by this casino resort to build up the non-gaming entertainment department and also to help implementing this very spectacular mega show for them.
She was the head of a business unit, and she managed a team of about 100 people. But at age 60, she had to retire.
I really still want to pursue on a second career and do something else. And I give myself a determination that I wanted to do a job that I can help people, that I can contribute what I know.
Pat spent the next 2 years doing charity work. She participated in a focus group for people over 50 and leveraged that into her current internship. Like many Hong Kongers, Pat wasn't ready to stop working when she retired.
Hong Kongers are staying active and living longer, with less people entering the workforce because of low birth rates. Experts say employers should tap into the skilled 50-plus talent pool and even consider changing the retirement criteria.
The head of HKU's Sao Paulo Center on Aging says the city doesn't have a mandatory retirement age, but follows the government's lead.
The government actually set up the retirement norm. The norm for retirement is about 60. And of course, the newly joined government civil servants can retire at 65. So this is the range. And then when you set that societal references and all the other commercial corporates and non-government organizations, they will take that as a references.
2 years ago, Priyanka Goti started a social enterprise in Hong Kong, which connects people 50 years and older with employers. This age group is vulnerable to job loss.
They've been forced out of the workforce because of redundancies or organizational restructuring. Either ways, they've no control of their current employment status, and they desperately want to try and get back into the workforce.
Priyanka organizes monthly events for these mature professionals. Many are in a transitional phase of their careers and are looking for new opportunities. This personal branding coach gives tips on pitching oneself.
One of the challenges that we see quite often is that people over 50 have often trouble articulating what their strengths are and differentiating themselves in a very cluttered job market. So we were hoping to bring to them our guest speakers and an interactive workshop.
One of the students, Bharat Nangia, plans to start a business in artificial intelligence.
I learned that I have to be more confident in my speaking wherever I go. Don't let myself down.
Priyanka collaborated with the university to research the job needs of those over 50. She says they have difficulty finding new opportunities.
This age group, once they leave their jobs or once they're forced out of employment, are disconnected from their networks and communities, find themselves to be in a position where there's a loss of self-confidence, don't know what are the right skills to build so that they can find jobs because they don't know what's relevant in the market anymore.
54-year-old Edward Tam is a graphic designer and wants to transition to social innovation. He says he's faced age discrimination while job searching.
I do have that kind of feeling that maybe people they have certain fixed perception about when you are at certain age, maybe you're not fast enough or maybe you're not flexible enough.
Age discrimination comes in many shapes and forms. For example, in an interview, it could be the interviewee saying that you're not good for this job because you're overqualified. This is quite often a word that people over 50 or 60 are told. As a result, they don't get the jobs.
Despite the challenges, people over 50 still want to find work. And Priyanka has a job board listing openings especially for these professionals.
So finance positions, sourcing again was a very, very big thing that we were doing last year for hotels, hospitality, but that has sort of reduced. But finance managers continue.
So it's a lot of demand for this profession.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But Priyanka warns that when the 50-plus land new jobs, their salaries are at least 20% less than their previous roles, no matter the industry.
Most people are hired only because they will charge a lesser fee as opposed to their younger colleagues.
68-year-old Philip Chan took a 50% pay cut for a new job. He used to own a consultancy business, and he was a China representative for a German electronics company.
I've been doing that for 20, 30 years, and I thought I never have to retire since I'm an entrepreneur. But then my major customer, a German company, said, "Well, no, it's a company rule that we cannot have people of their age." So they offered me a very generous golden parachute, so I took it.
He was 66 years old at the time. Instead of leaving the workforce, he decided to look for another job. Like Pat, Philip doesn't need the money, but feels that he has something to offer.
I feel that a person has to be active and remain gainfully employed or in some sort of activities instead of just idling. I want something that I can wake up to every morning as a purpose in life that's necessary.
It took Philip 1 year to find a permanent customer service position with the bank. He answers email inquiries, and he's happy with his new job and employer.
They recognize me not because of my age or my past experience, but what I can contribute to the company. And I get a lot of satisfaction from that.
This bank has hired about 200 retirees like Philip to work in customer service.
Is to recognize the benefit of elderly returning to a workplace. It's really good for them, and as their employees, it's really good for the workplace because old, young, intergeneration collaboration, learning from each other. And I think one of the things is also really good for customer. Our customer covers all kind of ages, right? So surely, having an elderly staff serving customers, especially the elderly customer, really makes sense.
Even those who are about to retire from the bank are invited to apply for these positions. Employees say the retirement age is 60. Priyanka says 60 is too early to stop working.
So retiring at 60 and living up to 90 is 30 years of not being economically productive. The biggest reason why we can't afford to do this is because financially we've never saved up enough for 30 years of no income. If they're not earning, they're actually draining resources of their family or of the economies that they belong to.
Maybe we should shift from age criteria on retirement to a competency criteria on retirement. So as long as you are competent, that you can contribute to our organization, and I should let you in. We should change the culture and the mentality.
That's our show for this week. Next week, the deadly coronavirus is stalking Hong Kong, and the SAR is on high alert again. In a city scarred by SARS, what's different this time, and what could be ahead? We'll have a special report. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.